right, then I would love to start. Yeah, first of all, thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. My name is Christian Bieber. I'm the president and CEO for the Americas, and grateful to have the opportunity today to present Allevo. So, what is Allevo? Allevo is basically the bridge between Microsoft Excel and SAP. So, yeah, first and foremost, we are not a construction company, so we're talking about software. Um, and by saying bridging or the bridge between, that means that we do not have any database in between. We do not have any interfaces in between that have to be maintained. At the end of the day, we're using SAP as the backbone, SAP as the database, having already all your master data, authorization roles, so security, all this stuff is within the system. And what value Allevo was bringing in is basically to give you the opportunity to use Microsoft Excel as you already familiar front end instead of using SAP transactions such as KPO6 or KPF6 when it comes to internal orders. So this is basically the meaning by building the bridge. By the way, with me in today's call, our Charlotte headquarter managing director, Christian Engbart. So I'm gonna hand this over after the slide deck, and he's going to walk you through a couple of examples to see, so what's a potential process, what can we support, and where can we give or can we provide an added value. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the whole FP&A portion, so financial planning and analysis within Microsoft Excel, but with a bidirectional read and write interface into SAP. So who are we? Kern AG or Kern AG is a German-based, German-headquartered software company with over 23 years of experience in the SAP ecosystem, with a lot of global acting customers such as Nike, Bosch, Bayer, Adidas, City of Tacoma, so also non-profit organizations. And at the end of the day, what is actually the philosophy or the challenge behind we want to change, or that's basically what we try to do. We want to change complex challenges, basically scenarios, into simple and effective solutions. Right? You have a lot of data within your SAP system. You have a lot of modules such as materials management, asset accounting, FICO, the COPA portion. And at the end of the day, the idea behind this to bring all this together in one screen, to do your margin analysis is one example, or to just do a primary cost planning or an activity dependent planning. But instead of using these transactions, we are using Microsoft Excel. And yeah, of course, the first question would be, why Excel? Maybe, it's not secure enough, or there's like a risk around. So first of all, the embedded Microsoft Excel is, let's say, safe in that way that we do have basically a mapping in the background to the corresponding SAP fields. And you are allowed to put that in what SAP is considering as a data entry. So we have a field length in the background and everything. So data is checked. It's basically not garbage in, garbage out, so to speak. And yeah, the fun thing is, if you talk about SAP, we do have our master data in, we do have our security, we do have the processes in, so we don't have to rebuild the wheel. We can just use the already existing data. And of course, if I'm talking about combining the strengths, When I'm talking about Microsoft Excel, I'm talking about formulas, about features, functions, and this is basically what Allevo is doing, just bringing this bidirectional or integrating this bidirectional and seamlessly. So this is gonna be my last slide for now, at least. I'm going to hand it over now to Christian Engbart, and he is showing you a couple of layouts to give an idea what might be the purpose of use of Allevo.
Hello. So in SAP, we have our own T-codes in our own namespace. That's Allevo. And Allevo Cockpit is a collection of transactions for Allevo. So here on the left, you can see all the object types that we can use, like cost centers, projects, orders, profit centers, business processes, and our own objects. They are called Allevo objects. Here on the right, you see the mode in that Allevo is running, like multi-object. You can use one object or multiple object types, and with multi-page, you can resolve groups into multiple sheets or sheet tabs. Here in workflow, we have the planner's agenda, where you can specify what a planner can run. So they can basically simply double-click an objective, and that starts the Excel spreadsheet. Here in the Allevo Studio, you can make your own documentation. Let me start with a planning layout. Here in that case, that's cost center planning for one cost center. That's for fiscal year 2023 and plan version 0. And with Start Workplace, Excel is loading in the background.
Please, Chris, allow me to add that real quick. So if you're talking about this Allevo layout, this is basically a predefined structure in the background, and you are more than welcome to define it. So there's no restriction. You can say, okay, I want to see my previous year, or maybe I want to see my past 2 or 3 years, whether I want to plan on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. So it's really up to you to reflect your process in the background, or even to mix several transactions up.
And here we can also see that master data checks are in the background. So if there is a cost element in there that doesn't exist, Allevo will tell you. So here on the left, we have statistical key figures, activity types. There are none on that cost center at the moment, and cost elements. Here in columns, we have different timeframes, like actuals, forecast for a specific year, and then budget year for another year. Let me go to detail and go on forecast. And here we can adjust some numbers. So that's bidirectional. That's called a splasher. When we enter a number here, it distributes the values all over the months. It respects the actual values and distributes the rest on the monthly values. And here you can also adjust the monthly values. And that changes the annual value. We have a line item integration here. So you can click on actuals and click on line items. You can also add a comment. Let's add that one here. And with a click on Write Data to SAP, we post all of that to SAP.
So I think this is an important point too. So all the authorizations in the background are checked. So when you push the button, SAP goes to a transaction, let's say SU01, so that's where your user, or PFCG, this is where your authorization roles are maintained, and it is automatically checked in the background whether I'm allowed to post on this cost center, whether I'm allowed to work on this cost element. So this is what I meant by saying secure in the background. And also the comments, this is something in addition to the SAP standard. These comments are stored in SAP 2, so you could use potentially a report painter report, which is GR55 as a transaction, and use it as a report interface to access those comments. So having said that, Chris, thanks so much for showing us, or allow me to interrupt you. See, that's what we mean with teamwork.
That's probably not the right year.
I think it was
version
03. It's super old.
2022 version 1. Here we have our changed value, and here we also find the planning comment. That's the webinar.
So it's super flexible. This is just one example. It can be a comment, a justification, but it also can be, let's say, an information about our current assets as one example. I think, Chris, we do have this example too. This is a so-called satellite table, so custom-owned Z table, basically. This one example for integration, so you can also integrate your personnel planning or other details or site calculations, so to speak. So I think you can show that us, or show it to us too, how we can just input some site calculation or additional information related to my budget.
So here we have a part of investment planning, and I'm running out of lines here at the moment, so I'll overwrite the last one. Let's make this webinar cheaper. That's in May. And then we can also post that one. And here we also have a link for Allevo SAP Invest. And here we now have the webinar, the depreciation for the webinar.
By the way, speaking about this detail, so if you look into the column, I think it's FN, we can also create an internal order. So this is now related to a CapEx example. But besides that, we do have a module called Allevo Architect, where you can create or just maintain your master data, your hierarchies, by using Microsoft Excel as a front end. So just, let's say you want to extract the hierarchy, you want to change, for instance, the responsible person or stuff like that, you are more than welcome to do so and just push it back into SAP. So this portion, the master data portion, is bidirectional too.
Okay, let's go to another example. That one is for scenario planning. So in that example, we have 3 plan versions. One is used for a realistic case, one is for worst case, and one is for best case. And we can use the worst case as a starting point from the realistic case. So set a baseline for the worst case, and then we can adjust it with minus 20%. And then that adjusts all values here. Best case, 10%.
So I think this is maybe important too to mention that of course you can use it for multiple cost centers, internal orders, WBS elements, profit centers. So it doesn't matter which object. So it's not necessarily with one element. So in that case, with one cost center, of course, you can use it for hierarchy or for the entire company code. Even that's possible to adjust it, to say, okay, this is my version 0, this is my version 1, this is my version 2, and then I can play around and say, maybe even related to my actual values, increase it by 10% for the best case, or decrease it by 2025 for the worst case, and copy everything into a new SAP plan version. So it's really that easy and that individual adjustable.
Is there another example you want to show?
Yeah, I think we can walk a little bit through. I think given the fact that we do have a smaller group today, we don't have to do necessarily all. I would just show another layout just to see and to prove, so to speak, that we have multiple use cases. You can also show Chris a couple of so-called master files as one example for personnel. So it's not necessarily only the financial portion, it can be personnel too. Like I said, it can be COPA, just to give you a brief idea. So what would be the potential range of this product? And of course, afterwards, we are going to reach out by email and we can still set up a specific demo to cover your individual use case. Yeah, you can just drop us a line in the chat or send us an email and say, okay, we are looking for this or that specific approach or for this or that specific process. And yeah, we would love to do another demo and show you, let's say, your use case. Even in your system, even that's possible. We can send a transport out and you can use it in your sandbox, play around a little bit, and yeah, see where would be the best fit for this.
So that's one example for personnel planning. That's also using a satellite table. So a different example for a satellite table where you can define the columns in which detail the employees are being planned. Here we have an example that combines a balance sheet and a cash flow. So here we read out the accounts where we can adjust the balance, and then the ending balance is shown down here. And the cash flow basically includes all, sums all of that up. So in that example, we read out COPA. For sales planning, so we have different timeframes here too. So one is for actuals, that's read-only basically, reading all the parts and products. And then we also have budget where you can input all the data, and that shows in the income statement. And we can define all the groupings here based on what's coming out of sales planning here, and make adjustments for different cost elements here down too. Yeah, that's the examples I have here. I think I'm through with my examples.
Yeah, I think that was important to me to see this COPA example, just to, to prove, like I said, that we are able to combine multiple information, so not necessarily linked to a forecast or to a budget. It can also be characteristics. It can also be sales order planning as one example. So it's really various scenarios where you can use Allevo and of course play a little bit around with the data, so to speak, just access it in real time, having the opportunity to drill all the way down to the line items. So that's what we've seen in the example before. And I think this is a huge benefit even when it comes to reporting. Maybe you can show us a last example of a typical reporting file that can be sent around. By the way, we do have our own software product called Sparks. So it's very similar to the Spark lines in Microsoft Excel standard, where you can just create some fancy charts, some fancy graphs, and having that sent out by an email client, for instance, or by just an action item in the background, where you can say, okay, this is my reporting group, and this is like the people I wanna send this data over. So this may be a last example for the variety of this. And like I said, afterwards we're gonna shoot an email out with some contact info, and yeah, we would love to reach out personally and set up another demo. Well, we don't have any data in, but this is a good example basically for margin or HR cost total. So this can be used, let's say, as an overall sheet over the company. So you can mix up multiple object types. Yeah, it can be a cost element, it can be a profit center in the background where the data is coming from, and then having as a chart, as a dashboard from a company's perspective. So a lot of functionality around, a lot of possibilities around. So to sum it up, you can really cut it down to your needs. It is customer tailored. It is 100% Microsoft Excel, a native Microsoft Excel front end. So any formulas, any functions that you are using right now can be used within SAP. So I think that's the advantage. And as mentioned, bidirectional, it's always read and write. It's not only to extract the data, you can always push the data back. You can populate your SAP data, you can manipulate it, increase it, decrease it, work with some factors in the background. You can do offline planning, which means you can just download the files, send it to your cost center responsibles, collect it, and having that upload or being uploaded automatically in the background. So a lot of potential scenario in the background. All right, so on my end, this was basically the very, very brief overview. And as mentioned, we would love to give you a deeper dive, to give you a view behind the curtain, and even show maybe if you have a certain approach, or maybe you want to integrate some non-SAP data, even that would be possible. And this would be part of the follow-up demo. So from my side, thank you for joining. It's been our pleasure having you in here, and thank you for having us. And yeah, Chris, maybe the last word is yours.
Thank you so much too, and have a good day.
All right. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.